The years pass like rivers, their waters carrying laughter, silence, quarrels, reconciliations, and 1,000 unspoken gestures that form the architecture of love. Marriage, in its truest essence, is not merely a union of two bodies under the same roof, but a mysterious alchemy of souls that mirrors both the beauty and the shadow of human existence. Carl Jung once said that marriage is not the end of romance, but the beginning of individuation together, a pilgrimage of two psyches, each incomplete, bound by the sacred task of wholeness. Yet what allows some unions to survive decades of storms, betrayals of time, and the erosion of youth, while others collapse under the unbearable weight of desire unmet? The secret does not live in fleeting passion, nor in perfection of compatibility, but in the courageous embrace of imperfection. The old couple sitting hand in hand beneath the fading autumn sun are not bound because life was easy, but because their spirits learned to bend without breaking. They have become mirrors to each other's wounds, and instead of fleeing, they chose to witness. He carries his shadows, pride, anger, silence. She carries hers, longing, fear, loneliness. But together, they did not allow those shadows to devour them. Instead, over the years, they held them to the fire of love, and in doing so, they softened the hardness of ego. The secret is not in avoiding pain, but in allowing pain to shape tenderness. You see, marriage is a crucible. It is where the ego is shattered, where illusions of control are burned away, where the anima in him, the eternal feminine, whispers through her tears, and where the animus in her, the eternal masculine, steadies her trembling hands. These archetypes, dancing within each, seek reconciliation, not dominance. And when they find harmony, a bond is forged that not even age can fracture. But ask yourself, when you imagine love in old age, do you see merely two bodies sharing the same roof, or do you feel the quiet gravity of two souls who weather the storms of life together? The ones who know that intimacy is not the absence of conflict, but the sacred art of returning again and again, even after the storm has passed. The first secret reveals itself here. Endurance is not resignation, but an active choosing, again and again, to wake each morning and see not only the wrinkles of age, but the story written in them, a story that belongs not to one, but to two. Marriage in its deepest form becomes a mirror to the self. In youth, passion blinds us. In age, truth softens us. What remains is a profound knowledge that you were never meant to heal alone. The union itself is the vessel, and through it, both souls are reshaped into something greater than they could ever be apart. And so, the long and happy marriage in old age is not about clinging to the illusions of yesterday, but surrendering to the mystery of today. For the true secret is not found in words, but in presence. The silent hand on the shoulder when words fail, the quiet recognition that you are seen not as perfect, but as whole. The second secret lives in silence. Not the silence of neglect, but the silence of sacred space. In the early days of passion, lovers often mistake noise for intimacy, filling the air with endless chatter, laughter, and restless energy. But as the years unfold, true love learns to breathe in the pauses. Silence is the language of the soul. It is in silence that two people meet beyond words, beyond roles, beyond the massive ego. When a woman can sit beside her partner without needing to prove her worth, and when a man can rest in her presence without needing to perform his strength, then marriage becomes a sanctuary. Carl Jung taught that the psyche longed for individuation, the integration of the fragment itself. Yet this integration cannot occur in constant noise or distraction. Silence creates a vessel where shadows rise, where hidden fears are acknowledged, and where intimacy deepens without demand. Look at the elderly couple sitting side by side on the porch at dusk. They do not need to speak, for their souls converse in subtler ways, a glance, a touch, the shared rhythm of breathing. This silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is the knowledge that love no longer requires performance to exist. And here, you must ask yourself, can you hold silence with another? Or do you rush to fill the space with words, jokes, and reassurances out of fear of being unseen? For the truth is this: a marriage that cannot endure silence is a marriage that has not yet found depth. In silence, the anima whispers to him, the feminine within calling him to soften, to feel, to yield. In silence, the animus speaks to her, the masculine within anchoring her, grounding her, giving structure to her emotional tides. The balance is not spoken, it is felt. It is lived in the unspoken space where two psyches intertwine without pressure. Strong marriages endure because they learn that silence is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. It is a womb of renewal, the space where love gathers strength, so that when words do come, they carry truth instead of performance. And so, The second secret is simple but profound. Those who wish for a long and happy marriage must learn to be together in silence. Not as strangers, not as roommates, but as souls who recognize that silence is not the death of connection, but its deepest proof. The third secret is born not in harmony, but in conflict. For love that pretends to never break is a fragile illusion, destined to shatter under the weight of reality. A long marriage is not the absence of storms. It is the art of weathering them together. Conflict is the crucible where the shadow emerges. Every argument, every wound, every sharp word is a messenger from the unconscious, carrying the voice of unmet needs, hidden fears, and old childhood wounds that still bleed within the adult heart. Too many couples fear this eruption. They suppress it, bury it, or explode in ways that destroy instead of refine. But the wise know conflict is sacred fire. It burns away pretense and reveals the raw humanity beneath. Jung spoke of projection, the act of seeing in another what you cannot yet face in yourself. This is why lovers hurt each other most deeply. The partner becomes a mirror for all that the ego denies. The controlling wife may be staring at her own suppressed fear of chaos. The distant husband may be avoiding his own unhealed grief. The fight is never about dishes, money, or chores. It is about the shadows that have not yet been embraced. And yet, here lies the secret. Those who endure do not run from conflict, nor do they drown in it. They learn to see the fight as an initiation. The raised voice, the slammed door, the silence after anger, all become invitations to descend into the underworld of the psyche, to confront the inner wounds that demand healing. Think of the couple who has been married for decades. They no longer fear arguments, for they have learned that every storm passes, and that afterward, the soil is richer, the air clearer, the intimacy deeper. Their love is not fragile porcelain, but weathered stone, shaped by countless winds and rains. And so, you must ask yourself, when conflict arises in your love, do you run? Do you cling to pride, determined to win at the expense of intimacy? Or can you hold steady, listening for the deeper truth beneath the sharp edges of anger? For the truth is this: a marriage that avoids conflict is shallow. A marriage that weaponizes conflict is destructive. But a marriage that transforms conflict into growth becomes unbreakable. The third secret, then, is this: see conflict not as a sign of weakness, but as the alchemy through which two souls polish each other, stripping away illusion and learning to love not only the light in one another, but the shadow as well. The fourth secret whispers through silence, through distance, through the unseen spaces between two souls. It is the paradox that true intimacy does not come from merging into one, but from preserving the mystery of two. For love that lasts a lifetime is not suffocation. It is not possession. It is not the demand to know every thought, to occupy every moment, to erase every boundary. Instead, it is a dance, closeness and distance, presence and absence, union and individuality. Carl Jung warned of the danger of projection, of losing oneself in another's identity, of mistaking the beloved for the missing piece of one's own soul. This is a temptation of eros, to collapse into fusion, to believe that love means disappearance of the self. But this illusion cannot endure, for no human can carry the weight of another's unfinished wholeness. The marriages that endure into old age are those where each partner remains a mystery, not a stranger, but a mystery. They do not claim ownership of the other's soul. They allow space for solitude, for private dreams, for inner work. They know that the psyche is vast, and no matter how close one lives to another, there will always be a wilderness within that cannot be mapped, cannot be conquered. And it is this very wilderness that keeps love alive. The man who still feels awe when his wife retreats into her quiet, unknowable thoughts. The woman who still feels intrigue when her husband disappears into his inner world, returning with new ideas, new reflections. Mystery keeps desire alive, for desire dies when there is nothing left to discover. Think of the ocean. It is vast, unfathomable, endlessly deep. That is why it calls us, why it humbles us, why it feeds our imagination. A marriage without mystery becomes like a shallow pond, stagnant, predictable, lifeless. But when both partners preserve their individuality, their separate paths, their inner secrets, the bond becomes like the sea, vast and ever-changing, always worth returning to. So ask yourself, do you demand to know every corner of your lover's soul, or do you allow them the dignity of mystery? Do you cling with fear, or do you trust that space does not weaken love, but strengthens it? The fourth secret is this: lasting love requires not only union but separation, not only intimacy but distance, not only knowing but reverence for the unknown. It is in this balance that passion survives the decades and devotion ripens instead of withers. The fifth secret is found not in passion alone, but in purpose. Passion burns bright, but it is shared meaning that carries two souls through the seasons of life. When two people first fall in love, they are intoxicated by each other's presence. Every glance, every touch, every laugh is enough. But decades later, what sustains them is not the fire of infatuation. It is the architecture of a shared life, carefully built stone by stone, dream by dream. Carl Jung often spoke of individuation, the process by which a soul becomes whole. Yet he also recognized that individuation is not isolation. It is the ability to stand as a complete being while joining in union with another. And in marriage, this union finds its deepest strength when it reaches beyond the couple themselves. A long and happy marriage is not only about you and me, it is about us, what we build, what we protect, what we dedicate ourselves to. It may be the raising of children, the tending of a home, the pursuit of a calling, or the creation of something lasting. It may be service, faith, or simply the shared rhythm of daily rituals. Without this shared meaning, love becomes fragile, like a boat drifting without an anchor. But with it, love becomes enduring, a vessel sailing through storms with direction, with purpose, with an unshakable horizon. Think of the old couple who still rise each morning with rituals known only to them. Tending the garden, preparing meals, praying together, walking hand in hand to watch the sunset. These are not trivial acts. They are the scaffolding of devotion, the habits that anchor two lives in something greater than desire. And it is this purpose that transforms marriage into something sacred. When trials come, illness, loss, financial hardship, the fading of youth, it is not beauty, not charm, not even romance that save the bond. It is the deep knowing. We are walking this path together. We are carrying something greater than ourselves. So ask yourself, do you and your partner share a purpose, a vision, a meaning that binds you beyond fleeting pleasures? Or do you drift, each chasing your own desires without weaving them into a common story? The fifth secret is this. Love that endures into old age is not only about desire. It is about building something together that time cannot erase. The sixth secret is forgiveness, not as a single act, but as a way of life. Every marriage, no matter how loving, will encounter betrayal, disappointment, or hurt. Sometimes it is a harsh word spoken in anger. Sometimes it is neglect or the slow erosion of attention. And sometimes it is a deeper wound, the kind that could break two souls apart. Carl Jung taught that we all carry a shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves we do not wish to see. In marriage, that shadow inevitably emerges. We see not only the beauty of our partner, but also their flaws, their fears, their hidden wounds. And they see ours. Without forgiveness, these shadows pile up like stones, heavy and suffocating. Resentment grows. Walls rise. Intimacy fades. But forgiveness is not the erasure of pain. It is a decision to release its poison. It is the recognition that both of you are flawed, both of you are still becoming, both of you are wrestling with shadows. In old age, couples who thrive are not those who avoided conflict, but those who learn to forgive again and again. They do not deny hurt, but they refuse to let hurt define the relationship. Forgiveness is not weakness. It does not mean excusing betrayal or ignoring pain. It is strength. It is a power to say, I see your shadow and I still choose you. I see your imperfection and I still walk beside you. For without forgiveness, love cannot breathe. But with forgiveness, love becomes vast, big enough to contain the human flaws that time inevitably reveals. The couple who has practiced forgiveness walks into old age with a kind of peace that cannot be faked. They have carried each other through storms, not because they were perfect, but because they were merciful. This is the sixth secret. A marriage that endures is not held together by the absence of wounds, but by the presence of forgiveness. The final secret is companionship. The quiet, enduring presence of two souls who walk through life's labyrinth together and emerged, not untouched, but inseparably bound. In youth, love burns like fire, restless, urgent, consuming. But in old age, love transforms into something rarer, quieter, yet infinitely more powerful. It becomes the air two people breathe together, the silence they share without fear, the comfort of a gaze that no longer needs explanation. Carl Jung wrote of individuation, the long journey of becoming whole within oneself. Yet when two individuals, each having faced their shadows, each having confronted their own demons, come together, something extraordinary happens. Their union becomes not fusion, but resonance. Two instruments, different in sound, yet tuned to the same frequency. In this companionship, desire does not vanish. It deepens. Attraction is no longer just a body, but a spirit. Wrinkles, frailty, the slow passage of years. None of it diminishes beauty. Because beauty is now seen in gestures, in patience, in laughter that survives even when the body weakens. The old couple who has discovered this secret does not cling to one another in fear. They walk beside each other in freedom. They know death will one day separate them, but that knowledge only sweetens the present. For every touch, every conversation, every shared glance is now luminous. Because it is finite, this companionship is the crown of marriage. It is not won quickly nor cheaply. It is carved from decades of trust, sacrifice, forgiveness, and courage. And when others look upon such a couple sitting together on a porch at sunset, hands intertwined, saying little yet radiating everything, they do not just see love. They see wisdom. They see the possibility of a life lived fully, where two souls, through shadows and storms, found their way not only to each other but to themselves. This is the seventh and final secret. A long and happy marriage in old age is not about perfection, passion without end, or the avoidance of pain. It is about companionship, the union of two individuated souls who, having faced life in its fullness, choose to sit together still in peace until the very end. If these words stirred something inside you, if you felt the echo of your own soul in these secrets, do not let them fade. Subscribe, so you may continue walking with us into the deeper mysteries of love, shadow, and self-discovery. Share this message with someone whose heart still believes in love that endures beyond time. And in the comments below, leave the lesson you have learned about love. For your voice, too, becomes part of this great collective story of human connection. Because marriage, like the soul, is not a destination. It is a lifelong becoming. And together, we are learning how to become whole.